What's up, everybody? This is Ron Sparkman from Stardom, and today on our interview, we have a very special guest. We have the one and only Astro Athens, Athena Brensberger, and she is a science host, a social media influencer, a model, fashion star, and countless more things that we're going to discuss in our interview with her today. But first, we want to just give her a welcome. Welcome, Athena, to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We're really excited to have you on. You have just been so busy recently, so we have a lot to talk about. But before we get into your recent successes, can you give us a little bit of your story about where you started and how you were first inspired by space and science?
Yeah, it all started when I was 12 years old. I've told the story a few times where my best friend, Anika, gave me a book on the cosmos. And back then I was really into art. So I actually thought that these were paintings and this was a big book of just literally like art. And she told me, no, these are actual things. And this is taken by something called the Hubble Space Telescope. And they're thousands to millions to billions of light years away. And I was like, what? And I'm like, what is this? And so that's really where the curiosity started. I was 12 years old and it just escalated from there. Like my high school I went to had a planetarium and I started learning how to track asteroids. My college had an observatory and I first looked at sunspots through an H-alpha filter, and it just was on a telescope, of course, and it just literally escalated from there. So I've always had that peak and that curiosity for astrophysics and space exploration.
Speaking of which, astrophysics, I think, is probably your biggest passion of the many things that you have. Where in particular did that stem from? I know you had a moment in your college career where you said, wow, this is the one thing that I really want to do. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it definitely started in high school before I even knew where I was going to go to college. Mm-hmm. When I first started learning about space and I started just like, we were in the planetarium and looking at all the different stars and looking at the constellations, automatically it detached me so much from reality that it made me think like, this is incredible and I want to do this, except the fact that it is reality. And that's what just tripped me out, because something so extravagant as the universe, as the cosmos, as astrophysics, you'd think would be imaginary, but it's not. It's real. It's as real as you and me. And I think that that's where it really just started. And I was like, I have to do this. To me, it was the ultimate job. To me, I was like, if there's anything I can do in my lifetime that's going to be, estimated 125 years, I always say I'm going to live that long. I has to be something that is the ultimate job. Like I can't just work something day in and day out. It has to always be growing. And the Hubble constant, the acceleration rate of the universe, that's accelerating. I might as well accelerate with it. Exactly. Yes. So I was like, I gotta do something with this. And so that's when I knew I wanted to really pursue it as a career. And so once I got into college, and I actually was a political science major because I didn't think I could do physics because I had a really bad math background. And this sounds so dumb for me to even be saying because I wanted to do astrophysics, but it doesn't matter. When you have that fuel, you have that passion, you have that drive, like, you're going to push yourself to actually be good at something that is going to make you accelerate. And so when I got to college, that's when it really started. And my professor in astronomy, Dr. Liu, was like, you should be a physics major. You should be doing astrophysics. Come do research with me this summer. And that's also what escalated into my years of research.
And I think there are so many people, you make a really good point, is that we all talk about how bad we are at math. And I am off. I was okay at math when I was in high school, but the last thing I took was geometry. I had to go, when I got my GED, I had to take remedial math. I had to take college algebra twice. I'm taking, nobody passed my pre-calculus class when I took it last semester, and I'm in it again. And, currently, I'm doing really well in it. So it's one of these things that there's so many things that we can give up on so easily if we don't have that passion for it. But I just don't care. It's all right. So it took me 3 or 4 months longer than it takes, it took this person to learn it. I'm still going to learn it. And the thing is that I want to use it. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. And you make a really good point about it. It's just, I am not great at math, and a lot of people aren't. But it is something, and it's a skill that you can learn. And I think that's a very important lesson for so many people out there, that if you're listening, seriously, just keep with it. You can learn anything. That's a big point. And I love that you brought that up and you talked about the fact that, it's something that you worked through. And I think that's where the passion comes in. And you have passions for multiple things. Another thing that you have excelled at, you are a passionate and successful model. So what brought that into your life?
Yeah, so modeling actually came up out of nowhere when I was in the middle of doing my research at the Hayden Planetarium. I was studying protoplanetary disks and was really cool. I was really into it and was like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I had put aside all of my creative arts background. I was a dancer for 16 years, and I had said, you know what, that's the past, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And I was really like cold turkey, was like this or that, this path or that path, because that's how we're structured to think from a very young age. And yeah, and so I was like, that's it. But I actually was working at Aeropostale in Times Square, a part-time job at the same time as doing research at the Hayden Planetarium. And I got scouted while I was there by one of the scouts for America's Next Top Model. And long story short, I was going to just turn it down. I was like, no, I'm doing astrophysics. Get out of my face. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, you know, I had all these, you know, pre-assumptions of what the modeling world was like. I was like, it's superficial. It's this, it's that. Do you hear so many negative things? And I ended up talking to my mentor about it. And he's like, why don't you give it a try? Like, I was 19 years old. And he was like, see what's up, see what's happening. Like, there's so many paths you can go in life. Like, to stay on one trajectory is just not, it's not the way that life works sometimes. And I was like, you know what, you're right. And then actually that's also around the same time that I had come across running into Neil deGrasse Tyson during my research at the Hayden. Also got similar advice from him. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. And so that's really where modeling started. I ended up not going through with America's Next Top Model. I actually made it to the top 12. Like, they were going to like do the whole thing. I was going to get into the show. And then I ended up deciding that I didn't want to move forward with the contract. And that was just my own personal decision at the time. And I ended up saying, you know what, maybe I should just find another way to get involved in it. And I created my own website, went on castings, and then got scouted for a couple agencies. And then it really just sort of grew from there. So I've ended up doing about 7 years, traveled to many different countries for it. I was very happy about that. Really good experience, just jumping into cultures around the world. And also, of course, me having an astronomy background, had to visit all the planetariums and all the observatories in other countries. And it's truly incredible also just to kind of see how the umbrella of space brings everyone together. And I actually saw that through my modeling career too, because anyone that I spoke with on set or like in my model apartment with 15 models and living in bunk beds, you know, like we would talk about space, we'd talk about the wonders of the universe. And you truly meet incredible people that have different backgrounds and wanted to study physics or went into science or, you know, and it's truly amazing to see this tie of the arts and the sciences start to happen in society. So my passion for modeling really came from, you know, meeting people also in fashion, designers, and like even just architects too, and like buildings. And, you know, you start to meet people that have these incredible processes in their brain and how they actually develop things and how they create throughout their life. And that's so similar to astrophysics, and that's so similar to science, because physics, because you're creating and it all started through philosophers. And I think that that's what's so special about it, because we do have these two parts of our brain that people often think are so separate, the creative and the logic, and it's really not. Like, those are tied together so well. So I've become so appreciative of everyone that I actually met in the fashion realm, and also in acting, because I ended up going into acting. And it's truly incredible how much the human mind is really capable of. So that's kind of where that passion came from.
And I think I agree completely. I think it's something that so few people expect to hear me tell them about all the interesting conversations I've had about space and science in a bar. You know, it's just being a DJ.
Oh yeah.
Funny, you know, I've got my headphones hanging around my neck or something. I'm just, you know, just talking to somebody randomly, and I almost forget that the next song's coming up. And I'm talking to somebody about space or science, and asking me questions like, "Heard you're the space guy, blah blah blah." And, you know, people from NASA, manager told me this and that. And it's always a fun conversation. I love when those people you know, pop up out of nowhere, and especially living in a state now that is so full of space people, and from Colorado Springs, you know, Denver and Boulder, it's just everywhere. I mean, it's huge here. So it's always intriguing to run into these people and meet them, and especially from different worlds. You know, a bartender that happens to know about, you know, black holes and can have a conversation for an hour about them. Space is in everybody, literally, and I think it's something that's really intriguing. And you have found a way to mix your worlds together, and it's kind of what created your alter ego, so to speak, your superhero with Astro Athens. So can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to merge the two, how you developed it, and when did you know that you were onto something special, that this was connecting with people in a different way that maybe you hadn't imagined?
Yeah, so the name first actually started because I was when I was doing America's Next Top Model, they were like, everyone has to create a Twitter. And I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to create a Twitter, then I'm going to keep the name Astronomy somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And at the time, the iPhone 4, I think it was, or 3, was always auto-correcting Athena as Athens. So everyone always called me Athens. So I was like, I'm going to make my name Astro Athens. So that's where that first came from. And then when I actually had started already traveling for modeling is when I created my Instagram page and I kept Astro Athens. So it always kind of stuck. And then years later, after, modeling for 7 years, I was like, I really want to do something with space and science. And I was like, just, end everything, go back to school, get my PhD and be in the research. But I was noticing this kind of like a need for how can I really say this? I realized this when I was learning about the NASA budget, and I was learning about how to really increase research money for researchers and how to really increase these discoveries that astronomers are making. And it's through, obviously, funding. And I know the whole process of getting funding is that, researchers always have to contact the federal, agency is, whatever it is, if it's NSF, if it's NASA, if it's NOAA, they have to reach out and propose this. And I thought, but why? There's so much money everywhere else. There's so much money in there's entertainment. And I was like, wait a second. That's when the dots connected for me. And I was like, there's so much money in entertainment, but research, there's money there, but there has to be an extracting of it. And I was like, what if I find a way to kind of tie those two together? And that's when I first learned about when I went to Congress and I spoke to the House of Representatives and the Senate. And I talked to them about the importance of science. And I realized it starts with that. It starts with telling people this is what researchers are doing. Because honestly, when I was doing research, I was busy doing research. The only time I'd actually have to talk about it would be when I have to do a presentation to my colleagues or whatever it was. And most of the time I'm busy doing my research, but I feel like there is this need to make trendy, to make viral, to make aware of what actually astronomers, researchers, scientists of all realms are actually doing. And that's when I realized maybe there's a way I can try and connect these dots instead of going back to school, which I really, really wanted to do and I will do. I decided, there's so many ways I can do online courses. I'm enrolled right now at like Caltech, University of Arizona, doing courses on my own, learning everything that I can, doing everything so I have the skill set, I have the knowledge. There's so much that we can do from the internet. And
Agreed.
So I started doing that. Yeah. So I started doing that and I was like, okay, I got to turn this into something bigger. So I started with doing a YouTube channel, which I thought was to be honest, I was like, this is so cheesy. Everyone's on YouTube. I don't know how I feel about this. How do I talk to a camera? Uh-huh. And I was like, all I have to do is just kind of start talking. So it really started through volunteering at the Intrepid, volunteering at museums, going to space camps, talking to kids. And people were like, you really got to make this documented somehow, the way that I would just talk to a group of people. And I was like, well, no, but that takes away the specialness of actually talking to people in person. But then I realized the advantage of the reach that it can really obtain when it comes to the internet. And I was like, okay, so if I create videos, put that on the internet, whatever that knowledge is, like I said, it's not even about me. It's about the knowledge. It's about what scientists are doing and making that known to people and accessible to people. That's when there'll be an increase in the amount of people that'll know about this stuff, know it's important, think it's important, vote for there being an increase in, I'm not trying to just say space policy and the NASA budget, but just an increase in curiosity and in knowledge and how much we really can advance as a human species in technology, in innovation. And so all these different things connected for me all at once in one giant umbrella. And long story short, that's kind of the reason why I really created my blog, my YouTube channel, and I started doing all this stuff because there's so much that, like I said, the scientists are doing, and there's not as much coverage of it for people that aren't involved in science. Those that are involved in science know the websites to go to. They know where to watch these lectures. They know the music. They know when these things are happening. And there's so many people not in it that don't know about this. Anytime I'm on a photo shoot or I'm on set and I'm talking to makeup artists, I'm talking to hairstylists, they're like, where can I get this information? I didn't even know there was a rocket launch. Everyone thought it was aliens over here in LA when the SpaceX launch happened. And and that's the thing is that there are resources and there are ways to tell people, but not everyone knows that. So I'm like, the thing is, it's not trendy enough. And I think that for something that took over our lives for centuries. Our ancestors looked to the stars for navigation, for calendars, for crops, for agriculture. And, we've lost that by living obviously in civilizations and, cities, which is, it's fine. We've advanced as a species. But I think that we have to understand where our roots are, where we came from, and that is the universe. And so I think that that's really something big that I've been trying to get, like the snowball turning into an avalanche in this sense.
And you have done an excellent job with it. You've become a prominent social media influencer and YouTube personality now. Can you give us a little bit more detail about the topics that you have gone into on your channel so far, things that you have tried to maybe pull the curtain back on that people don't know about?
I first started with kind of like general physics and astrophysics stuff. So when I say general, I mean like, what's a galaxy? What's a black hole? Like, what exactly is, the different spectrum of light, and, how do we classify stars? And I started with that just because that was something that like I was learning back in school. And then I started noticing like my page is evolving into something more of like, okay, what's happening today? Why should we care about it? And one of my main things that I really try and do whenever I do talk with someone, whether it is like in a bar or it's on the subway or it's in my Uber, like out here, I always end up talking about space, but also why space exploration is important and why we're doing what we're doing. And because a lot of people are like, why do we send a Tesla to space? Are you serious? Yeah. And it's just kind of like, well, think about it. Think about how many people it made think, wow, I can imagine myself in that Tesla in space, and how many spikes of curiosity that just created for so many people where they're like, I want to actually be the one to actually go to space. And the more people that have that drive and that thrive is just going to increase so much more. And to me too, it's not even just about the excitement of going to space and doing this stuff. It's how is that applying to all of our everyday lives and medical technology? Like how much increase in medicine and, detection of cancer, like it all came through the technology that's being developed through astrophysics, through the Hubble Space Telescope. I mean, there's so many examples I can literally run through right now, but there's just so much that actually really affects our every single day lives that, I think people see a big disconnect. So for me, it's about trying to make that connection. So that's really kind of how I started everything that I'm doing right now with my YouTube and Instagram and everything.
And I think that's wonderful. I think that there's so few people that understand for every dollar we put into NASA, it puts $7 to $14 back into the economy. Just there's these different things that people are like, oh, why are you spending all this money on space? No, we're spending it here, and it's something that a whole lot of people don't really understand. It's actually a future interview I'm doing is with Rebecca Williams from the Space Foundation, and her whole entire job of space awareness is to get out there and tell people, hey, this is what's going on. She does during the Space Symposium. She's the one that basically coordinates our big event, which is the Hall of Fame dinner that's sponsored by SpaceX. And during it, they highlight these amazing technologies. Okay, here is someone who utilized the power of satellites and noticed that he could figure out where water was in a landlocked area, and now this area that was struggling with water supply, they figured out a way to the right place to drill wells. This is something he wasn't trying to do when he figured it out. It's these space technologies are really literally changing the world, and so few people understand that. And I think it's wonderful that we have more and more people out there like yourself and so many other great science communicators out there that are focusing on these topics. And I think that's a great way to find topics. Is that the only way that you're able to? Do you just go with, okay, this is the biggest thing in the news now, or is there other ways that you kind of sit down and dive into the topics that you discuss?
It literally comes out of nowhere. Sometimes I would be talking to someone and I'll just start thinking about something like quasars. That literally, I was inspired because I picked up a chocolate bar after the gym. I know, horrible, but and it was a quasar bar from Trader Joe's, and I was like, I should do a video about quasars. It really is random. Like I think that covering stuff in the news is important, but it's not all there is, because at the end of the day, if I'm talking about, like recently I was talking about like ULXs, and it's just like, I think that that's something that if you don't understand how X-ray emissions work, you're not going to know what that is. So I was like, let me talk a little bit about X-ray emissions. Let me talk a little bit about neutron stars first. Let me talk about even star categories. And then it's about like leading people in, because it's not just about trying to throw information at people and hope that they'll understand. I think it's about trying to connect on a language that can be a bit more universal and broken down for everyone, not just for those that are like, yep, I know what you're talking about. Let's do it. Let's go to the next level. Let's get deep with it, which I think is amazing. I mean, when I do like the Tomorrow Show, we got some audience that are like, let's go deep. Let's go like technical. And then we got some people that are like, okay, wait, let's break this down. Let's like actually understand category by category, because I don't know quantum mechanics, like whatever it is. Yeah. So I think that that's really amazing, because on the internet, you can reach all these different people.
And that really makes a good point, and it's a great segue. As social media influencers, it's something that you and I are, and all of the people that we collaborate with are very big on. We want to make it so that people are talking at the water cooler about space and science the way that they are currently talking about the new seasons of Stranger Things or whatever happened on The Bachelor 2 weeks ago that nobody will shut up about. I don't know how to watch the show, but so,
I don't either. I know.
I have no idea. It's like, I was studying for a test. I don't know what you're talking about. Forever. All I know is that we have a reality TV star as our president, but I digress. So what will it take for us to get space and science to that level? Like, what is it going to take for us as we start to reach out more and more to get people's interest to where they're talking about it the way that they've been talking about the Falcon Heavy launch, that the average everyday thing is going to be what we get excited about every morning when we look at, Google News and what's trending is going to be the average person is doing that. What do you think it's going to take for us to get there?
I think there'll need to be an integration of language. So I think that what I mean by that is any conversation that we have, there has to be some type of woven in conversation about like science or space. And I don't want to say, oh yeah, it needs to be forced and people should just start talking about space. Yeah. Which if it was up to me, I would say that. But I think that honestly, the just observing as a third person, looking at social media, looking at the internet, and seeing the way that people go viral like that, and like over something that's funny, something that clicks, something that's short but clever. And I think that that's something that is, I'm so grateful is happening through certain like YouTube channels, like the Physics Girl. There's so many channels out there that like, it's amazing. And it makes me so happy because it's like, yes, they found the way that like it really resonates with people, and they found the way that like to make these things go viral instead of just making a viral YouTube show about, I don't know, like just talking about BS or something, like I think that that's great. And I think that it's fine because people need moments to kind of just shut off their mind and just watch someone talk comedy and stuff like that. And I think It's incredible. But I think that there needs to be a really good balance for the human race where it's just like, there has to be some type of, I don't know, just go to where it's like, this is amazing every single day, every single week. I want to tune into this. And I love that the Cosmos did that, like obviously that was a huge hit with Carl Sagan and then Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I think that was just something that really like, yeah, it really resonated with people. And so what I'm just so excited about is like, okay, like what's the next thing to grab Generation X? What's the next thing that I'm just like, and I'm like watching and I'm like just thinking, okay, come on people. Like there's so many good people out there. So I think that's really, really the way, like with the future generations, because things are changing rapidly we're evolving fast as a species, and especially with technology. So I think that it's going to be something through technology, through the internet, that's going to really like just cause a big shift. And I'm already excited that like stuff like what you said with SpaceX and with the launch of the Falcon Heavy launch. Oh my God, I don't even want to get into that right now. But let's backtrack a little bit to like, the Falcon 9 launches. And then even before that with all the other launches that were happening. 2 years ago, Chanel, Paris Fashion Week, had a like model rocket go off at their fashion show, and everything was space attire. And then like Nick Graham had like suits he had Buzz Aldrin and Bill Nye the Science Guy walking in a show. And I think that it is just incredible. And Versace has like a constellation dress, Victoria's Secret has constellation dress. And I think that there's this constant now like attraction of fashion pulling in this awareness and this trend of our place in the cosmos. And I think that that's what's going to also get people saying, like, this is amazing. I want to actually know all the constellations on this dress, or I want to know. Yeah. And I think that that's what's really going to start to maybe like cause like a move forward with all of this to not necessarily take the minds away from people like looking at reality shows, because I think that's still going to happen. Realistically, we're not going to be able to change that. There's still going to be people that like to watch reality shows because, I don't know, whatever the reason is. But there's still something that I think there's still so much room in there. There's so much that our brains are capable of. And I think that we're going to be able to achieve something insanely amazing and moving as like Cosmos was. And I think that that's something that's really going to come soon. And I really think it's going to be through the internet, to be honest. Yeah.
And I think you made that's a wonderful point there. Cosmos is what started me. I mean, you're talking about if you could get my, excuse my language, if you can get my lazy ass up off the couch, and out there and volunteering and just generally becoming a better person and getting into space and science for something that was completely fine at the time. Had I not had that epiphany, I don't know that I would have known how sad I was in the life that I was living. Like if it wouldn't have been for that first 15 minutes, I would not be there. And 4 years later, now everything that's going on, be able to speak at events and, get to work with awesome people like you and be on our site and fit rocket scientists and to do all these things. If you can inspire me, then you can inspire absolutely anybody. And I think space is it. And you mentioned Cosmos, and to say the truth, I think one of my big dreams, what I would love to see is almost a Viceland of space and science. I think it'd be super cool to see, you doing what you do, and talking about, space in, space, and then also space and fashion, or the Fit Rocket Scientist show, or, the nightly. There's just so much that's on the internet now. I would love to see that even more so than what it already is. But we have so many that are so successful, like SciShow and Physics Girl and the ones that you mentioned. And there's so many great influencers out there. And I think we're moving towards that. And it's something that people are really starting to be excited about. These things are taking off. And it's something that you are more and more involved in as time goes along. And you've actually made a recent move, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But so some of the let's talk about just some of the people that you've been working with. You have some of the top digital science communication companies around that you've been working with recently. So let's start with my personal favorite is SLU, just because it's astronomy based. So for those that don't know what it is, can you tell us what SLU is, and can you tell us a little bit about some of the topics that you've discussed on their show?
Yeah, so they call it the interface to outer space, and that's because their website. Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Tagline, sorry. Yep.
Yeah. So their website allows for any user who signs up to be able to actually control their telescopes. They have telescopes in the Canary Islands, and I believe also South Africa. And there's Spain and then South Africa. Mm-hmm. And people can control their telescopes and actually do their own observations. They can collect their own data, and it's truly incredible. And I think that's a really good way to just bring home just the stars in space. So that's what their website is. We forgot how we connected. I think they found me through Instagram, and they emailed me, and we ended up doing the first episode was supposed to be about the Milky Way, and it was about the Milky Way, but it was a lot more just kind of like this. It was like, so what about you, Athena? And so it was really incredible. And then we did one talking about Manhattan Henge, which is like a play on words from Stonehenge. Mm-hmm. And it's where the sun sets, I think it was down 34th Street. There's actually 34th, 42nd, 14th Street is where the sun passes through, and it passes directly between the buildings. And it's really cool. And Stonehenge is a solar calendar. So, that was a really fun conversation we had. And I actually was out here in LA when we did that. And I believe the other one that I spoke about was, I think it was a meteor shower. It might have been the Gemini meteor shower, but it was really cool. And I think that their show's incredible. They got amazing astronomers that they bring on there, and they talk about all the different things that really goes into research. It goes into the telescopes. It goes into why we should be exploring the cosmos. So that's like a general idea of their website.
And it's one of my favorites, and I love that they remodeled recently in about the last year and a half, and it's even cooler than it used to be. The first time I heard about it, I was shocked by it. I was like, I can use professional telescopes to do observations, and anybody can do it, and the membership fee is small for that. I'm sure that there are people that have spent no pun intended, an astronomical amount to be able to utilize some of these amazing telescopes throughout history. And now it's
free with their membership now.
Is it free? Really?
I was told a few months ago that it was now free to the public to become a member. So it should still be, yeah.
And that's even better. I mean, they're just such an incredible organization, and they're doing so many amazing things. And so if you guys haven't checked it out, we're going to give you a link. It's going to be in the interview here on YouTube. It's going to be in the description. And that's just one of a few things that you work on. You also worked with futurism, and now you're working with Seeker. So how much are you involved in the creation process of these, what are basically viral videos that you've been doing recently?
Yeah, so since I've moved out here to LA, I actually work a lot with Seeker. I am one of their researchers and a writer, so and then also a host. So usually so usually I'll like get a topic and I will write about it, and then we'll go through it, and then we'll shoot a video and I'll host it. So it's been really incredible. Working with their team has just been amazing, and they're out of San Francisco, so that's really fun. And the topics are insane. Like they're so good. Like I did one on wormholes recently. I did one on the bouncing universe hypothesis. So it's definitely like really like. I like it because it's like fun, it's relatable, it's good for kids. And me, it's so funny. Like the first paper I wrote for them, or my first script was, I believe it was on dark matter and alternate theories of dark matter. And me coming from a scientific background, when I wrote it out, it was like detailed words, like technical. It was like 1,000 words more than it was supposed to be. And
like, so Athena.
Yeah. And I loved it because what I learned about this was like, you know, how obviously there's different audiences out there and how to really communicate properly. Because, you know, to be honest, like when I jumped into being a science communicator, like I didn't even really know there was a term for it. I just was like, I want to talk about science because it's so important. And then I was told, oh, that's what a science communicator is. And I was like, oh, okay. And so there was not really any formal training with this. You know, so I kind of just was like, this is what's important. Let me talk about it and figure out who I'm talking to, gauge their reaction and see how much they actually understand. And then I can see how technical to go. So what I love about working with Seekers, I've really learned how to structure that and how to really communicate things in such a fun, like, cool way. And that's been really, really fun. So that was with Seeker. With Futurism, they're back in New York. So they're actually out there right now, but I know that they're traveling a lot. They're doing so many amazing things right now that they're currently working on. And that was like really quick. That was like 60-minute hosted videos that I was doing. And it was all about like technology, like innovative technology. It was really focused around that. So I did a video on like this 360 rotating building in Dubai, which will always like change its shape, which was really, really cool.
That was awesome. That really was. I was like,
yeah.
I've flown over Dubai, but I've not been there yet. And all you have to do is fly over to be, well, that's the coolest place I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Really stunning. It is.
It's insane. So there's so much that we're doing today with technology and even like tattoos that can tell you about your health. And, you know, there's so much out there. And so I love that about futurism because it's all about trying to get that out to the people and get people to understand, wow, this is what we're doing. This is what's being worked on. And this is the future of the human race. And I think it's to kind of look at us like not so much as like, you know, how we were 10 years ago, 30 years ago, you know, 2,000 years ago. It's about to look like, okay, what are we going to be like in 100 years? What are we going to be like in 10 years even, in the way that we're accelerating in our technology and our advancements. So that's what I've been doing with Futurism. And then I have the Tomorrow Show, the TMRO show. And they're, oh my God, they're so much fun. They're once a week. Usually about once a week I go on the show. And it's a live show, and it always started where they're covering rocket launches, talking about space, like what satellite is being launched soon. And I was brought on as an interviewed about a year ago. It was in July. Was it July? It was past July. And they reached out to me and was like, hey, like, let's find a way to work together. I'm like, hell yeah. And so I came on. Yeah. So they created another show. It was a TMRO science show. So I started as a host on there, talk about different topics in science. Like, and this was like totally out of my realm because I know a lot about astrophysics, but I'm like, I'm excited. I'm going to learn about like biology and learn about chemistry and learn about like all this other stuff, geology. And so I started doing that, covering news topics and that. And then now I'm a host for their space show also. So I get to kind of cover all those fun topics. And that's really like focused on, okay, what's happening this week? What happened last week? What's happening next week in science? And I like that because it keeps me on my toes. And it keeps like also the audience, anyone watching them on their toes. And they're like, wow, this is what's happening. And there's such a constant stimulation of learning. And I just think that's so exciting because it's a live show. So we have a live audience online and we get to chat with them. And it just keeps everyone going. And I love it. I think it's so much fun.
I think that this is actually something that I find really intriguing about what you just said, that it kind of gave me an epiphany about something that I've been doing and hadn't really realized it. I learn so much when I know that I need to, when I'm going to be speaking publicly about something.
Yep.
It's something about it. I memorize it better. If there's a big difference between I'm going to be taking a test in chemistry this week to I'm going to be on stage and we're going to talk about the relation that chemistry has to astrophysics and why it's so important.
Yeah.
First, I don't know what it is about that. I don't know if it's the pressure of you just don't want. I don't want to be in front of a camera on stage and saying something that is wrong and then just completely lose credibility. So that may be one of the reasons that I'm so motivated. But I think it's an incredible learning experience that so many people don't understand, that when you put yourself out there like that, you also find out what you're made of. And I think it's super cool that you're doing those things. And I love the fact that you've been working on stuff that is futurism based. We see a lot of the big names in space science, a lot of these major science communicators. Michio Kaku talks about it. Star Talk's done episodes on it. People try to look at the past and have no idea where we're going sometimes, and the science communicators like yourself that are getting that information out there. That one of the reasons I'm so excited about the longevity, like the anti-aging, de-aging, these technologies that are coming out that Peter Diamandis is talking about at the Abundance 360 Summit, and what's going on with these things are going to be part of the things that allow us to live to 125, 150 years old, and who knows what we're going to be able to see. Mars seemed impossible not too long ago, and all it took was somebody that was willing to risk his billions and billions of dollars over and over again for everybody to sit in an audience at IAC the last few years and say, this guy's going to take people to Mars. We're going to have a civilization on Mars. And there's so many other thinkers out there like that. And I love that there are shows that like what you guys are doing that are making sure that people are aware of this happening. And I think that's another big thing. Space science and obviously futurism, I think that's what's going to capture. That's what captures the public's attention so much. Of wait, what? Like they think they might have figured out a way to possibly cure all cancers by doing this one thing, and it's just amazing where we're going. And I think it's incredible that you've also taken the initiative to move to where it was somewhere that would be conducive to what you wanted to do. You said, all right, I'm out. I have a stable job. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go to LA and I'm going to take this chance. And that is one of the coolest things that I can think of. It's something that I did myself. It was one of the scariest things I ever did. And I continue to do it and plan on doing it more in the future. So what inspired you to say, you know what, I'm going to go to LA. This is the next step for me. I'm going to leave everything I know behind and make that move. And then I'll get into the follow-up from that, because there's certainly something that stems from that. So what inspired you to make that move and say, I'm going?
Well, minus the stable job part, this was definitely something, since I actually was 12 years old, which is when I first got the book on the cosmos. I learned that there was a place that was warm all year round. And I was like, all right, I got to live there, because I can't with the cold. But that's just a personal thing, not space related. But when I came out here, I came out to California a few times through just like fashion shows and stuff over the past couple of years. And I always loved it. I always felt something incredible here, and I didn't know why. It wasn't until I had this had this burning sensation to come, and I ended up coming in April of last year. It was the first time I came to Los Angeles, actually. It was April of last year, and I came for Yuri's night, and I was only here for a few days. No, I'm sorry, I came in February 1st for 2 days, and then I came in April for a week. And I was just hustle. I was I'm a New Yorker, so I'm like, all right, I'm coming to LA. I'm going to make this worthwhile. So I just came. I got a lot of stuff done, did shoots, did job, whatever, all these different things, connect with people. Then it wasn't until July that I was like, you know what? I know logically I should be staying in New York, because I'm, trying to build stuff up. I'm trying to do things, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, but something's telling me I just need to go to LA. And instead of ignoring that, I was like, let me just look into tickets. It was 1 a.m. flash sale happened. Tickets were mad cheap. They were I don't know, $60 or something to come to LA. It was a one-way ticket. And I was like, I'm doing it. And it was in July. And I was like, I'm out. But I only came for a couple of weeks. So my one-way ticket back to New York was 100 something. But I came and I was like, I don't have no plans. Didn't know where I was staying. I was like, I don't care. I know things are going to work out, because I have this drive and I have this motivation. And I was like, I got the money in my pocket that I got, and I'm going to make it work, because this is my life. And that's when I decided to come out here in July. And serendipity, it just, the coincidence happened. I got contacted actually through Kevin about the Tomorrow Show. Ended up doing an interview with that. got connected with Seeker. Like, it was like one thing after another was just happening. And I literally was like, these people have no idea that I was even planning on coming to LA. Like, we were going to do stuff through Skype or whatever. But because I had like just said something's telling me to come to LA and I just did it, all this just literally snowballed, and it was incredible. And so by my last day here out of my 2 weeks in July, I sat down actually with my manager and I was like, thinking like, oh man, I really want to move out here. And I had so many amazing meetings, but it's probably not going to work out. And we sat down and we're like, let's plan your move to LA. And I was like, oh, like, yes, yes, I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to make this work. And of course, having that support system from her, like, helped tremendously, just trying to help me strategize and plan. And all of a sudden I was like, all right, you know what, by October, I'm packing up my stuff and I'm out, and I'm buying my ticket. And I bought my one-way ticket coming out here in October. And I was like, this is going to work and I'm going to make it work. And I knew I wanted to come out here because, first of all, it's New York's incredible and you can do everything in New York, but here you can do everything that you can do in New York. But I feel like the lifestyle here and like the accessibility of like space stuff is just tremendous. I mean, we got like Vandenberg, and then we got SpaceX, and then we got like NASA JPL. Like, there's one thing after another. And plus two, it's just like, there's just so much nature. And I think it's incredible. And like, I can literally go like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes the opposite direction, and I can see a full night of stars. I can do thorough stargazing. I can do thorough like research. And it's just, to me, like, that's what's incredible about it. So that's really why I did it. And I know that there's so much I can get involved here. And I feel like I was at max capacity for New York with everything I was able to get involved with. And I was like, all right, now it's time to hit up the next big thing. And so that's really what motivated me. I've always wanted to do it. And I just told myself, I'm not going to say no anymore. And I just did it. So that's where things kind of happened.
It is awesome, and I'll tell you, it's something that I DJ'd because I wanted to act. It was something I always wanted to do, and then all these fat, goofy, curly-headed guys came out and started doing funny stuff. I'm like, oh, if there's ever a time, it's now. And then I went to Los Angeles, and actually I had a couple of auditions at a couple of clubs, and I was making really good money, and I allowed myself the time to be. I thought money was it. It's like, oh, I need money. I have to make enough money. I have to do this. I have to do that. That's what success means. I've learned better since then. But every time I'm out there, it's just, I don't want to leave. It's one of those places that it has so much going on, and there's so many incredible people in that city doing these things and creating the next generation of what will connect the world to space and science and technology. And I think that's what's so incredible about it. And I know that you're working on some things for the future. So what's next for you? Are there you have a big plan? So what, 1 year, 3 year plan? What do you see? Where do you see Astro Athens being within the next few years?
I
mean, if you don't have an answer, that's fine. I mean, sometimes I know that you're there and you're building on things, and opportunities in the space industry just come out of nowhere sometimes. So I know that can be, we have to be flexible too.
Right. So I did come here with a super open mind. Everything that I am doing, like I said, I came here and I've just been working off of passion, like burning desire and drive. And I've just been like literally going head first into anything, and like nothing is stopping me. So anything that comes up, I'm like, yes, we're doing this. We're partnering. This is happening. That's happening. So it's just about constant growth right now for me. Like, I have Yuri's Night coming up, which I'm really, really stoked for. That's going to be next month. So it's only in a couple of weeks. It's April 7th. And I'm really, really excited for that. That's going to be so good. And I'm going to be a brand ambassador for that this year. And I'm just super excited to see kind of like what they have happening. And like I said, I think that as far as an overall plan, it's strange because I've been doing a lot of meditating, a lot of writing, and I write my scripts so much now, and I just write these ideas, and I'm constantly learning, and I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing online courses right now through Caltech and then through University of Arizona, and I did one at Stanford University already. So it's just about, like I said, constant learning, and I've found that through doing this and having actions, things are coming back in, because it's physics, it's just like, you set a body in motion, and it's going to stay in motion, and like you're just gonna see where the path is and where you're leading and where you're going, and as long as you keep that ball rolling and you don't put a force to stop it, it's just gonna keep going, and things are gonna keep coming. And so that's really what I've just been living off of. I do have like an overall plan, and I have things that I'm working on right now, which is pretty exciting. But like, I just kind of want to stay focused really on like my main thing. I'm just being like silly about it because it's just like there's a few things that I'm just gonna kind of see what happens. So right now it's really just building as much content as I can. I want to just keep doing stuff. I just got a cool camera. I got some lavalier microphones. So because like lately everyone's been like, it's so echoey in your place. I'm like, that's because I'm a minimalist. Like that's the microphone. And so I'm going to be doing that. And it really is just about like, I don't know, just there's so much fuel, and it's about taking that fuel and launching finally. And the fuel is the information. It's all the research that's happening, and it's about taking it and freaking shooting a rocket up. I'm going to space one day. I'm going. I feel like it's gonna be more than just suborbital. Like I know it's gonna be past that. I know it's happening, and I think that a lot of people need to have that mentality. And if they don't, that's fine. Stay here on Earth. I think there's a lot of incredible things, but I think it's more than just the actual physical going to space. It's the metaphorical sense. There's so much more to explore and to do with your life. And it's just like, since I've been here, I've had this nonstop drive and motivation to do that. So that's really what I've just been really focused and working on. I pay attention to everything that anyone who's in my, and I don't like to say like my audience, my followers, it's my community. Like I follow a lot of people that follow me, and because it's about building that bonds, building that connection, building the community, because it's not high school. We don't need to stay separate. It's not the popular kids and then the followers. It's not the, the geeks and then the band people. It's not the musicians and then the jocks. No, we're all connected. We're all together. So it's like constantly trying to build that up. So I pay attention to every single thing that people are writing to me, anything that anyone's saying to me. And I'm like, all right, this is what people want to hear. This is what people want to talk about. This is what, and I think it's about really bridging constant. It's not just a bridge. It's an indefinite amount of bridges. It's a multiverse of bridges. And so that's really what my main focus is right now. And it's trying to just do it through observation and looking at people, listening to people, and trying to figure out what they need. And then also, I'm like, and I guess what I need, but what I need is just doing more research. So,
I'm not gonna lie, Athena, I really don't feel your passion on this. I don't think this is the right move for you.
Oh, well, too bad. I'm doing it anyway. Was I not excited? No,
for real. And I think that's something that resonates through all of us. It's, I get in a conversation with, we have a mutual friend, Kevin DeBruin, who's a rocket scientist and did all these amazing things, applied to NASA over 100 times before they even took his internship. And now he's a rocket scientist there working on Europa. Sebastian with Beyond Our Sight, Talia, who is an amazing spaceflight photographer and journalist, and that is sorry. And there's all these amazing people, and every single person, it's the same thing. We just can't stop smiling. We're damn near yelling about what it is that we love so much. And I think it harkens back to Carl Sagan, where he said, when you're in love, you want to tell the world about it. And I think it connects us all in so many ways. And I love the fact that you just say you're just doing it. I think one of my all-time favorite quotes, and it's something I try to live by, is luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. If you are putting it out there and you are doing it, people are going to see it, and they're going to see that passion. This is a universe, no pun intended, that I did not think was going to accept like the goofy, tattooed, ADHD, talking too fast DJ, and everybody has just been amazing. Science and space is for everyone, and I think it's great to see so many varied faces out there. And you certainly have that passion and that drive, and I know that you've got to have some words of advice for people out there that are wanting to do what you want to do. So for the people that are listening that are inspired by your story today, what would you tell them that if they want to follow in your footsteps and become a science host and communicator, or really any of the laundry list of things that you are doing right now? What are your words of advice? Don't stop. Keep learning. Always prepare yourself. These are things that are just coming to me right now. Keep journals. I have literally 2 journals right now next to me, and I'm always writing. Always write. And it took me a while. Like, I was a major procrastinator with writing. I was like, hey, writing, I just want to talk on camera. And it's like, no, because you get your thoughts out. So if anyone really wants to do stuff, it's just do not get bothered by anything else anyone says around you. Like, even if it's motivational, or if it's like, people are doubting you, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's about you. It's about your focus. It's about what you want. And it's like, don't ever make any excuses for anything else. Just keep pushing yourself. Like, have that literally, like, just constant drive and that constant desire. Like, you when you know what you want, things feel amazing.
it's about holding on to that and not doubting it and making excuses. Like behind me, I have all these Post-it notes. Behind you right now, I have all these Post-it notes. They're reminders. They're me saying, this is what you need to do every single day. This is what you need to do twice a day. 2 hours doing this, 3 hours doing that. This is what you need to do after you finish this course. Take down the Post-it note, put up a new Post-it note for another lecture to finish, and constantly keep reading. Always keep reading, always keep writing. I think that that's just like one really big thing is like, don't lose the motivation. The second you start to feel like you're low, you're losing motivation. And we all have low days. We all have days where like, what are we doing? You know, and just like force yourself to maybe just go running or something, or just start writing, or just feel like a burn, or call someone that you know that you really love and you trust, and even talk with them if you really feel like that. Otherwise, if you're a solo person like me, like I don't generally tend to do that. Like really, I think it's just about like reevaluating yourself, reevaluating, why do I love this? List out why you love it, why you want to do it, how you can do it, strategize. So I think that that's really a lot of it. A lot of it's just, intensity. And I move through life intense, but strategy, like strategic intensity.
I like strategic. Remember whatever.
Strategery, yes. I like that, yes.
That's the old Will Ferrell joke, and I love what you said. And there's actually something I want to point out that you've been talking about that a lot of people may not know about. You've been mentioning what are called MOOCs, the Massive Open Online Courses. Those are out there everywhere. If you want to learn for free, there are so many different places like Coursera and Udemy, and some of them cost a little bit of money, some of them do not. It is actually something that we do focus on the StardomSpace.com website. So if you are interested in learning some of these cool things, I try to go through and document every one that I can find, the free ones. Everybody started about Khan Academy, but there's dozens of these things now, and they are amazing. And not only that, but Athena has actually got her YouTube channel, which is also teaching you about these really cool science topics. So if you want to go on there, we're going to get her information right now. So can you tell us where we can find you on YouTube, all over the interwebs, your website, all that fun stuff? And we are also going to drop all this information below in the YouTube section. But can you share those with us?
Yeah, it's Astro Athens, all one word, and it's very universal. It's on every single social media channel you'll ever find. So YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I don't really use Snapchat, but whatever. And then Tumblr.
Not a whole lot of people do anymore. It's so weird now. Anyway.
It's really weird. It's because Instagram got their story. That they ended up doing a story. So now, and then Facebook also. And then actually on Reddit, I created Astro Athens Official because Astro Athens was taken. So I'm not sure who that is, but whoever you are, hello. Just Astro Athens is everywhere. It's the name that I stuck with.
Fantastic. And so congratulations on all you've been doing and all your successes recently. And we certainly look forward to catching up with you in the future and seeing all the new things you have done on this quest to, dare we say it, change the world.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ron.
And we appreciate everybody watching today, and make sure to check us out on the next episode. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys soon.